Take it away, Steve.
Right. Hi, everyone. Um, my name is Steve Norton. Uh, I'm a member of the Bangor Land Trust, a member of the board. Um, but in my day-to-day life, I'm a uh, sound artist, and researcher, and educator. That's it. Um, uh, I come to this work with a lifelong love of biology and ecology. My background is not biology. Um, my undergrad was in music at Berklee College in Boston, um, and not all that long ago, I moved from Boston to Maine in 2016, and joined the Masters of Fine Art program there at UMaine, and graduated in 2019. So I'm a recent graduate of the UMaine system, and since then I have been uh, basically pursuing artwork of various sorts. Um, but mostly my work is based in sound. Um, it's For me, it's been a gradual shift uh, from uh, from the practice of music performance to field recording and soundscape composition and acoustic ecology, which is what you're going to hear about tonight. Um, my current working situation, sort of my job, as it were, um, is with uh, an art collective based here in Maine called the Island Soundscape Project. Um, uh, I founded it with my colleague and friend Nate Aldrich in 2021. Um, our our sort of working credo, if you will, is through listening, we can gain a unique understanding of of the world we inhabit, an understanding which complements and even contrasts with the world that we see. We started making work together along these lines in 2020, 2021, and then in 2023, uh, we established a partnership uh, with with the Maine Coast Heritage Trust. And then January 2024, also a partnership with Know Your Land Consulting, which is a, a land study unit that Kathy Pollard runs. She's a wildlife biologist, and she's working sort of under the auspices of Bangor Land Trust, uh, and most of her work is focused on Penjajawoc Marsh as people probably know, in the center of Maine, in the center of Bangor, uh, which is also the property that Bangor Land Trust is likewise focused on. Um, So just a couple of quick definitions. When I talk about soundscape, I'm really talking about our naturally occurring sonic environment. Um, it's sort of, everything that we hear in a given place at a given time. Um, when I say acoustic ecology, what I'm describing is the sonic relationships and causalities amongst an environment and the creatures within it. Um, the soundscape is the means through which acoustic ecology is practiced, accomplished. And as you saw in the title of this talk, bioacoustics is uh, something that we're doing here at Penjajawoc Marsh um, for Kathy and Know Your Land Consulting. Um, and it's what scientists call the study of the living world through the medium of sound. So, as I said, I joined the Bangor Land Trust Board, and that was in February 2023. I'm the chair of the Programs Committee. I'm a steward of both Central Penjajawoc Preserve and North Penjajawoc Forest. And I'm also doing a lot of sort of extracurricular sound recording, field recordings on the property, just as a matter of personal interest. The ISP work with Bangor Land Trust began in 2024, last April. As I said, we're working with Kathy and performing a bioacoustic survey to study the life, study of, oh, right. A bioacoustic survey is a study of life with specific parameters and goals through the medium of sound. This project takes, or any project such as this, takes place over a period of time, and it's accomplished through the means of periodic samplings, specifically of the dawn choruses, because that's when the activity, particularly bird activity, is the densest and richest. So you get a lot more data that way, really. So I thought I'd start with a couple of personal interest recordings. These overlap pretty strongly with, for the most part, with the bioacoustic recordings. This was done, as you can see, April 18th, 2024. This starts at 5:20 a.m. And I made this recording with a specific goal. I was hoping to catch the drumming of the ruffed grouse. And you can see in that photograph that we're right down on the marsh, and this is right near. It's down at the bottom of right at the bottom of Northeast Penjajawoc Preserve, and I had heard. I think it was the day before this. I had heard the drumming from the VZ Railroad bed, and I went back and placed a recorder very, very close to this exact spot and left it running overnight. And there's a bunch of birds to be heard, like right off the bat. You'll hear winter wren and hermit thrush, red-breasted nuthatch, song sparrow, the drumming of a yellow-bellied sapsucker, amongst others. And the and then shortly after that, you'll hear two instances over the course of this sound clip, two instances of ruffed grouse drumming. Don't know if you saw on the website, but it does recommend that if you have headphones, a decent pair of headphones, those are probably a good thing to wear, or if you have external speakers, and it's probably too late for any such announcement. So never mind. We're going to get what we get, and here we go. Justin Pullen's on the call. He was the one who told me what the sound of the winter wren was. I had never been able to identify that. So, Justin, thank you for that. Back in June, I think it was actually the 23rd, like 2 days, no, the day before this, not that that matters, sorry. Um, uh, Robert Ostrovsky, who's an ornithologist, led a Bangor Land Trust um, uh, whippoorwill walk in the evening down at Walden Park Preserve. And I went along very hopefully. I grew up um, uh, in suburban Eastern Massachusetts, and uh, that's not exactly whippoorwill country. Technically, it's part of the range, but the terrain is not conducive. And I had never heard a whippoorwill. So we went out with Robert that evening, and we heard and saw both whippoorwills um, and nighthawks. Nighthawks I was familiar with. Whippoorwills not so much. Uh, so I went out the very next night and put a recorder out at Walden Park Preserve, and got a lot of whippoorwill calls. Most of them were very far from the microphones, so you could hear that they were there, but it wasn't very prominent. That is not the case with what we'll hear right here. Not sure how audible it was, but there was another one calling in the distance after the close by one stopped, as well as gray tree frogs. That was when I finally got to sit down and review the recording. That was quite exciting. Bobolinks was another bird I never saw when I was growing up in Massachusetts. But I first saw them. I live right near campus in Orono, and there's a big field up there that's actually being managed to encourage bobolink nesting. And I saw them there and heard them for the first time, and again was kind of amazed. So last summer I visited the West Penjajawoc grasslands, and another Bangor Land Trust property. And sure enough, we are cooperating with the same organization who helps landowners to encourage bobolink nesting by basically our field gets mown every year. If one just puts the mowing off until after the 1st of August, by that point you're generally well past the time when the chicks have fledged, grown up, and are off on their own, and so the mowing can be done safely then. and and clearly it works. I went out in June and left a recorder out overnight, and I got this. This is just an excerpt of a lot of bobolink activity that's in this recording, and this one in particular starts at quite early, before 6 a.m. And it's, for the most part, the most prominent sound you'll hear in the recording. It's very it tends to go in these waves where there one will make these sort of tinkling sounds, and then you'll hear all this chatter after it, and then there will be a pause, and then that will sort of pattern kind of happens again, over and over. Enjoy. So as these birds are upland from the marsh, these probably won't go onto the record of the results of the bioacoustic survey, where we're trying to basically see what species are out, out on the marsh itself. Um, and so with that, uh, I'll move on to this topic. Um, so as I said before, a bioacoustic survey has, sort of a circumscribed goal, plan, and protocols around certain parameters. One of the things that we're doing is we're doing all of the recordings with the same gear in the same location, um, just to make sure that it's all apples to apples, if you will. Um, and that's a picture of our recording setup. You see, there's two fuzzy things hanging off two two of those tree trunks there. The fuzzies are the windscreens. They're around a little cage that has a microphone inside. Um, and so those are very effective at keeping wind off the microphones themselves, because as you probably know from making video recordings outdoors with your phone, if there's any breeze at all, you get all this sort of nasty low frequency all over the recording. Um, as you can hear from these recordings, there's none of that, and that's because we're using uh, these and devices like it to make sure that the wind stays away. Um, uh, uh, we're also doing recordings on sort of a planned schedule, which is basically once a month. It's twice a month during the spring and fall migrations, just to sort of get more as things change, because they change rapidly over that period of time. Um, and so each recording is generally made by going out late afternoon, ideally, walking into, this is Central Penjajawoc Preserve, which is just a little ways southwest from Central, or just straight south, I guess. And put the recorder up. So kind of what you can see here. Obviously, this is morning sun that we're looking at, but um, uh, put the recorder out. Push record, close it up, and head home, and then come back out in the morning, usually around mid-morning or so, and pick the gear up. This is what it looks like inside. There's it's a very small, actually, small recorder, little stereo field recorder, and a big, that's a power bank, a battery power bank that it's what you would, charge phones or maybe even a laptop with. Um, and so those get closed up in that plastic box, which is waterproof. Um, and down below here, the microphones plug into the sockets that are built into the base here. And it's actually, the setup is very simple. It's just you put the box up on the, right behind the box is a plywood plate that's been screwed to the tree, and the box hangs on a pair of finishing nails. And then the microphones have magnetic mounts, and there's two small pieces of steel bar screwed into the two sides of the tree there, and they just clip right on. And so you put those there, plug them into this box, and hit record, and you're pretty much ready to go. So the next few recordings document some various visitors and inhabitants of the marsh. First one up, these are I'm mostly focused here on birds that are new to me and also ones with particularly I think particularly interesting sounds. Um, this is a ruby-crowned kinglet. I had never seen um, kinglets before I'd moved to Maine. And I'd been seeing them in my backyard, but I'd never heard them call. Um, so this is a another recording from last April. This is down on the marsh at our recording location. Um, and was going through the recording and I heard this crazy complicated song. It's like long and goes all over the place. Um, and I was completely at a loss. And so I made a quick a short clip and emailed it off to Robert, and he came back in no time at all and said, "Ruby Crown Kinglet." Okay, I guess if you know, you know. So um, it's a long process getting to know all these, but you know, it's good stuff. And here is what they sound like. Crazy. That uh, could be almost anything or almost any flycatcher. That's an alder flycatcher. Um, another bird I was entirely unfamiliar with until just very recently. Uh, and it's pretty much the same story. I ran into these sounds um, on one of the recordings, and I didn't know what they were, and so now I do. And notice that this is 1:45 in the morning um, uh, in mid-June. Um, first light or civil twilight is not until almost a half an hour after this. Um, but as you can hear, in mid-June, things are kind of busting out. This is there's a lot going on, but there are a lot, relatively speaking, a lot of um, alder flycatchers in this recording, and it's a little hard to hear, but I hear them like to my ear. It's three uh, uh, in the right channel and two in the left channel, and it's difficult to parse that all out. Um, uh, Basically, you can hear sometimes calls that overlap a little, and generally when that happens, one will be at a different volume than the other because the bird will be nearer or farther. Um, and that's basically how you can kind of assess that there's more than one, and if so, where and how far from the microphones basically is what you're sort of that's how you're hearing the differences. Um, it's not an exact science in this case. Um, but see if this comes through for you.
Steve, I think you accidentally hopped back a slide.
I think you're right. Right. One more. A lot of flycatchers. Also on this same recording, not on this clip, willow flycatchers are also present. So it's kind of a party out there. And that frequent trill, that's a soloist gray tree frog. Just going to stick to the keyboard. That works best. So we all know what Canada geese sound like, and yes, we're this is a picture from the ocean. This is as good as I could get. Um, uh, this is one of those funny things that happen when you leave recorders out unattended in the wild. These geese uh, fly by the mics very, very close. And well, as you can see from the caption, um, the sound is quite amazing. And of course, I'd never been close enough to know that their wings whistle, but they whistle pretty good. Note that we had pileated woodpecker bookends there.
There was also swamp sparrows were really uh, clear.
Yep, yep, they sounded right up there, nice and close. So those kinds of things are really exciting to stumble across when you're getting through hours and hours of audio. And sometimes really unexpected things happen. Um, uh, uh, if I had stopped to really reason it out, I probably would have seen this coming. Um, but when was this? This is mid-July last year, 3:30 in the morning. This is not a picture of what happened, but it gives you a good idea. Um, uh, so folks in the acoustic ecology world call the sounds that we've been mostly listening to just now, sounds made by living creatures other than humans. We call that the biophony. Sounds made by humans with our voices as well as with our machinery and other creations. That's known as the anthropophony. We've been hearing that all along as well. It's more prominent in some of the clips that we just heard than in others. But there's in basically any recording that you make on any of our properties, there's going to be the din of I-95. Quite often you get traffic up on Essex Street that will come through. There's, I mean, nowadays it's basically hard to find a place in the entire world where one can go more than 5 or 10 minutes without hearing an engine of some sort. So this is the world we've built. So if you're wearing headphones, you might want to either ride the fader or be ready to pull them up a little. This gets loud. We've done testing on this recording prior to going live here, and the report is, yes, it's pretty loud. It's only really loud for a fairly brief amount of time. But you might want to just pull the cans out if you're wearing headphones, if it gets to be too much. I've got a volume knob, so I'm all set. The green frogs refuse to be vanquished. And I don't know if you heard it, but there was also some a little bit of further away bullfrog calling as well, right towards the end. Anyway, um, there you go. That's the tail on the audio tail on that plane has got to be miles and miles long. I couldn't I'm always astonished at how long it takes before you can no longer hear it anymore. Kind of shocking.
But there's always the red-winged blackbirds there.
Sorry.
The red-winged blackbirds keep on keeping on. I thought that's what I was hearing in the marsh.
No, those are green frogs.
Oh, those are green frogs. Okay.
um, yeah, okay. This is
So have you recorded most of the frogs around here in your recordings?
yes. I've got yes. Green. Oh, well, hold on a sec. You've just jumped ahead in the program.
Okay, well then I'll wait.
Um, and before we get to some of that detail, I just thought we'd take a little chill here. So this is I always think of this as being sort of dramatic, even though it's not dramatic in the sort of human drama, you know, narrative construction kind of fashion. It's dramatic in a very non-human way. This recording was made back late October. Um, uh, and amongst other things, it demonstrates how effective our little windscreens are. Um, but and it's nothing fancy. It's just a little slice of a recording from when was it? Yeah, late. It was late morning when this happened. I hadn't picked up the recorder until I don't I don't think till almost noon that day. So so this is just this is a little post giant airplane chill out. Oops. Okay, I was wrong. That's something we've all just heard. I don't know how that happened. I remember checking that audio beforehand. And so it goes. Um, so one of the things that I made for this presentation was partial list of what I've basically gotten verified to date on this project. And so in the recordings on the marsh, there are, Jim, to answer your question, I've gotten recordings of northern leopard frog, spring peeper, green frogs, bullfrogs, and gray tree frogs. The marsh recordings didn't start quite early enough to catch wood frogs, and even if they did, I'm not sure that there are any vernal pools close enough to this location. Oh, wait a sec. No, there's a field right up behind where the recorders are, and there's a vernal pool in that field. So,
Right.
so, so we should, yeah. So that means early May, early April this year, should probably be getting some should be getting some wood frogs.
It's more like the middle of April, or depending
Yeah.
on the year, of course, but it's not usually early April. It's like when the vernal pool, when the ice is starting to go out of the vernal pools,
Mm.
is when they start calling.
The ice is out now.
The ice is out in the vernal pools, really? I don't think
I have
that's
a
true.
vernal pool in my backyard.
Yeah, that may not be
Deep enough.
deep enough. It may not
Oh,
be as good. I would go if there's a good vernal pool at the intersection of the Northeast Penjajawoc Trail to the railroad track, and
yeah, that's the one, right. That's the one I was thinking of. But
I
if
thought that was in your backyard.
no. So that one, there was wood frogs there this year, but I hadn't started the recording process.
Right.
And even if I had, I'm not sure that they would be audible to the recorder, which is down in Central.
Yeah, maybe not. They're not that loud.
Yeah, yeah, they're not right. They're not peepers or gray tree frogs. Um, uh, but I have wood frog. I get wood frogs in my vernal pool in my backyard. The ice is out. There's no frogs yet. Uh, I think it's still a little dry. Um, but yeah, I'm hoping to get some April this year. We'll see what happens. We can add them to the list. But there's, as you can see from the tallies down at the end, there's like so far, and this is not complete because I'm not even close to having surveyed um, the whole bunch of recordings. So 33 birds, one mammal. You can hear a red squirrel periodically in these recordings, and then 5 frogs. So it's coming along pretty healthily, and Kathy and I will be getting together soon to discuss further. Um, uh, Bangor Land Trust has a Bandcamp page. This is something that I put together. I don't remember when. I think in the last spring. I haven't had the time to. There's one album of 3 recordings up there right now. I've got the site set so that you can just listen to it without downloading if you don't care about that. Basically to your heart's content. And I will be posting hopefully within the next few months a bunch more of material, especially since I've had the last couple of weeks to really go through and start dealing with some of this stuff. So That's so yeah, it's BLT-sounds at bandcamp.com. That's sort of the way all of their pages work. So go check that out sometime. Um, I took the local photographs, all of the bird species pictures I got from Macaulay Library, which is part of the Cornell Lab for Ornithology at Cornell University, and I just stole the airplane image off the internet. um, Thank you so much for listening. Um, uh, there's a picture of the setup that captured the bobolinks on the West Penjajawoc grasslands. Um, uh, Questions, please feel free.
Well, I just comment that Bangor is one of the few places. I mean, it's right at the border of the willow, the willow flycatcher and the alder flycatcher. The alder flycatcher is to the north, and the willow is to the south. So
Oh,
we're really at the transition zone, which is pretty neat.
wow. Yeah, because I got them both in that one, in one evening. And probably others once I get through more of this material.
Have you allowed Robert to look at listen to all your recordings?
Well, so far I've just been pelting him with clips and saying, "What's this one? What's this one? What's this one?" So if
I mean,
I could hand
he
him a
might.
hard, I could hand him a hard drive, and but it's a lot to go through, and it also it doesn't. So what you're hearing is after I've done a decent amount of uh, enhancement, let's just say. So I've cut off the high hiss, and I've cut off
Oh yeah.
a decent chunk of the roadway. Not all of it, because you don't want to cut off too much. Um, uh, and I've done a lot of gain boosting, because most of these signals are not very strong.
Uh,
So right out of the box, I've been adding 18 to 24 dB of gain. So if I mean, if you're listening through speakers and you have a volume knob, that'll get you the gain. Um, the EQ is something that is not sort of a standard part of most of the uh, consumer software on people's machines. So
well, I don't want to speak for Robert, but he loves birds, and
yes, I,
he might want to do this while he's in between changing diapers or whatever he's doing at
right,
home,
right.
and so I would just ask him whether he's interested in doing something like
Well, I've already asked him if it's okay if I keep pinging him with unidentified birds, and he's cool with that.
but I think that he would be, with his sharp ears and knowledge, he would be able to listen to it and find more than you would be able to pick out
Oh,
and show
oh,
him.
no question, no question. I know a lot of those sounds, but there's so many. And what I know is local birds also, and if we're starting to talk about migratory species, there's excellent chance that I would be hearing things I had no idea what they were. So, yeah,
Right.
uh, we can just we will discuss that, he and I, for sure.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Oh, and then I guess there's always the
Okay.
whole chat thing. What's that?
There's nothing in the chat. I just
Nothing.
want to say thanks so much for sharing your work, Steve. It's really amazing what you're doing with these recordings.
Thank you. Thanks.
Thank you very much.
You are most welcome. I'm having a lot of fun doing it. All right.
Thank
Shall
you again to everyone who showed up. And as Steve mentioned, some of Steve's recordings are available to listen to on the Bangor Land Trust website. And then we also have additional events. We're going to be transitioning away from Zoom talks for the summer as the weather gets better. So keep an eye on our website for more programs. They'll be transitioning more to walks. So our next one will be on April 9th. If you happen to be available on a Wednesday, come out and walk Walden Park with us. So thank you very much for attending tonight.
This was great preview of coming attractions.
Yes, indeed. One thing I also forgot to mention is that the Island Soundscape Project also has a Bandcamp site, and that's at islandsoundscapeproject.bandcamp.com and a website at islandsoundscape.org. So there are things there too. Thanks again.
Thanks again, everyone.
Sure.